Next on Worcester News tonight, the city selects a construction manager for Polar Park. What set this firm apart from the rest? Plus, winter is over. How Central Massachusetts is celebrating the first day of spring. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Brittany Schaefer. The Worcester Redevelopment Authority confirms a construction manager for Polar Park with a vote Wednesday. The selection committee agreed on Gilbane Hunt over four other firms. The joint venture has experience working on Major League and AAA ballparks. Our Chandler Walsh has more.
Worcester's Polar Park is filling out its construction team's roster. The Worcester Redevelopment Authority awarded an initial $10.8 million construction manager contract to Gilbane Hunt.
The construction manager risk is essentially in another form. It's the general contractor. He then assembles all of the subcontractors to build the ballpark. This process is different in that the construction manager comes on at an early stage, now works with the design team as they do the plans.
A selection committee made up of city staff, the baseball team's project manager, and architect recommended the Gilbane Hunt partnership over four other firms. Worcester's Chief Development Officer, Michael Traynor, says their collective experience gave them the edge they needed.
Particularly building minor league ballparks. Part of the joint venture, Hunt has done a number of ballparks around the country. Gilbane's done a number of projects here in the city.
A groundbreaking for the project is expected in July. Gilbane Hunt will be responsible for building the park and structured parking garage.
Aside from building a ballpark, we are building a new neighborhood in Worcester, and it's really exciting. The WRA, is all of our board members are happy to be part of this.
Confirming the decision at a meeting Wednesday was quick. WRA Chairman Vincent Pedoni says they had been informed throughout the process. Moving forward, land takings, design, and construction details still need to be discussed.
So this is one important step, but it's definitely not the last important step.
Gilbane Hunt has no comment on the contract. The Worcester Red Sox say their front office heard all five firms' presentations for the job and support the decision. In Worcester, Chandler Walsh, Worcester News Tonight.
A transportation task force releases its draft final report. It calls for more than $90 million to fund the state's 15 regional transit authorities. The task force was created last year in the 2019 state budget. Their purpose was to look into challenges and opportunities for transit. Some of the suggestions included making a pilot program to include innovative transit delivery models and looking to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Astrid Glynn is MassDOT's Administrator of Rail and Transit. She says the task force has been working for months to improve service.
Everybody agreed that RTAs and regional transit is very important. Worcester has a very good program. It serves both the city and the surrounding rural area. And that is always a challenge because you have such different markets and such different types of demand. So one of the challenges that Worcester has always had is how to meet both those needs.
And tonight's public hearing was at the Worcester Public Library. The task force has 2 more meetings. Glenn says they will then finish the report and file it to the legislature. One of the most accomplished soccer players in the world visits Worcester Polytechnic Institute Wednesday. 3-time Olympian Christine Lilly is traveling to colleges across the nation to spread the message of gender equality in sports. Our Gretchen LaRosa joins us live now with more. Gretchen?
Brittany, the U.S. women's soccer team has gained a lot of attention on the field, but more recently, they've gained attention by filing a lawsuit to be paid on an equal level playing field as men. Christine Lilly is one of the most accomplished female soccer players in the world. Wednesday afternoon, she visited WPI to discuss the struggle in equality in women's sports.
We're talented, we're strong, we're smart, we want to compete to be the best at something, and then along the way we're realizing, hold on, why aren't we getting these same treatments?
Lilly is a 3-time Olympian and World Cup champion. She has helped the U.S. gain 4 national titles and played soccer for the U.S. women's team for 23 years. She has represented the U.S. more than any male or female in soccer.
And I think a women's voice, we have a lot to say, and we need the platform to be able to do it.
She is joined by UMass Lowell professor Jeff Gershon, who has written a book on the U.S. women's soccer national team's fight for gender equity.
When I first met him to see his presentation, I was like, this is pretty incredible. I think I learned a couple things even though I lived it.
She speaks to students and athletes, hoping they will continue working towards her mission.
It's something that our students can learn from, especially our women, how to advocate for themselves in male-dominated industries, but then also the men on how to be a good ally for our women. I think it should be an even playing field. People should be compensated for the work that they do and not their gender.
Now, even though Christine Lilly retired from soccer 8 years ago, she says she continues to fulfill her goals by fighting for equality. Gretchen LaRosa, Worcester News Tonight.
Today is the first day of spring. The change in season has people in the city celebrating the milder temperatures and the melting snow. The spring equinox also means longer days with more sunlight. Our Cam Jandro has the story.
Ice on Worcester's Lincoln Pond didn't stop the ducks and geese from enjoying the first day of spring. Blue skies and sunshine had people in central Massachusetts out at Elm Park to enjoy the change in seasons.
It's good to actually get warm enough to come out and play on the playground and see the water move and see the ducks and the geese.
The spring equinox means the amount of sunlight and daylight will almost be equal. A relief to some as April approaches.
I think we've had worse winters than this one, but it's always nice to have the day where you can come out and walk and you're not all bundled up.
Being outside is the best portion, just to stay inside the house every day. It's a good thing just to go outside, work in the yard.
And while the season may be just starting, Herbertberg Florist is preparing for one of their busiest times of the year.
There's a lot of graduations, there's proms, there's Easter, there's other holidays. Mother's Day in May is probably the busiest holiday.
Owner Sally Jablonski is back in Worcester after volunteering in the Florists World Cup earlier this month. She says spring makes things much easier in the flower business.
The tulips, the daffodils, they're all available. So we can leave them. We don't have to deliver in the snow or the ice. It just makes it a lot easier.
And as the snow and ice continue to melt, some are happy to say goodbye to winter.
Well, we just moved here, so this is a really welcome back home here, this weather. So.
It's great. You can tell spring's right around the corner.
Now, temperatures reached the 50s today, and if you have a look behind me, you can see the Worcester Common Oval Ice Rink is just about melted at this point. Now, Jablonski says she has a few weddings lined up in the coming weeks, and that really opens the floodgates for flower season. In Worcester tonight, I'm Cam Jandro, Worcester News Tonight.
Ice cream lovers are celebrating with a free treat today. Dairy Queens across the country are holding Free Cone Day today. People who stop by the West Boylston location could get a free small vanilla soft serve cone. The restaurant's co-owner Arthur Prepera says it's one of their busiest days, so they bring in extra employees and ice cream.
Everybody's happy, big smiles. I'm already seeing a lot of kids. Some of the everyday customers, they're a little bit surprised, but they're happy too. So, oh, sure, I'll take my free cone.
We're like, oh, we have to come today. I'm on my spring break, so it's perfect.
Dairy Queen was also collecting donations for the Children's Miracle Network during Free Cone Day. A West Boylston man is preparing to run in the Boston Marathon next month. It's a race he's participated in before, but says this year he's running for a special cause. Our Rosalind Flaherty explains.
Neil Feldman is no stranger to running the Boston Marathon. April will be his 12th year participating, but this time he's running for a cause close to his heart.
Cancer doesn't really care how healthy you want to be.
1 week after running the marathon last year, his wife noticed this on his ear. The podiatrist knew something was wrong and had his friend, who's a plastic surgeon, look at it. He had it removed and tested. It came back as melanoma.
It was about 1 millimeter away from requiring a fairly extensive resection, which would have been my whole ear.
Feldman had to have more surgeries and scans, which came back negative. He says the scare was a wake-up call.
The best way to treat cancer is to not get it. The next best way to treat it is to get it early. And thank God I got it early enough.
He will be running on behalf of 1540 Connection. The organization helps people recognize warning signs of cancer early on. His biggest advice is to get checked.
If you think something's not right, you got to act on it. I did something about it almost immediately, and it saved my life.
He's not letting melanoma stop him. hoping to beat his time goal of 3 hours and 20 minutes. And he will be wearing protective clothing and sunscreen all the way to the finish line.
If I can do what I can to run, I'm going to run.
Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
Meanwhile, we're getting our first look at the banners for this year's Boston Marathon. Last year's winner, Des Linden, helping unveil the banner. She was joined by Bill Rogers, a 4-time winner of the Boston Marathon. Boston Mayor Marty Walsh also on hand to unveil 2 memorials to remember the 5 lives lost during and after the marathon bombings in 2013. 2 markers will be going up on Boylston Street in the spots where the bombings took place. These will not be ready before this year's marathon, but you will be able to see the majority of the project completed by then.